The moon hung low over the village of Asonkye, casting long shadows across the yam barns. It was supposed to be a peaceful harvest season, a time of thanks, unity, and abundance. But that night, a heart-piercing scream shattered the quiet. It was Kofi, the village's most respected yam farmer, shouting as though his soul had cracked in two. His entire barn, yams he had labored over since the first rains, had been swept clean. Not a single tuber remained. Villagers ran from their huts, lanterns in hand, gathering around the empty barn. The air buzzed with shock, anger, and whispered suspicions. Some pointed fingers at rival farmers, others murmured about tricksters from neighboring villages. But the most unsettling rumor spread like wind-fed fire: the thief must be someone among us. For in Asonkye, no stranger dared steal from a farmer protected by both tradition and the gods. The chief, Nana Bazomfi, arrived reluctantly, yawning as though his sleep mattered more than the crisis. His wife, Mafia Asabia, followed him quietly, her face unreadable, her wrapper perfectly tied, her gaze sliding away from the crowd whenever it lingered too close. No one noticed her trembling hands. No one except the old goat chewing calmly under the moonlight, the goat whose role would become the center of the entire mystery. As tensions grew, the elders summoned a meeting. The anger of the village needed soothing, and truth needed a path. They would resurrect the ancient test, the one used only when lies walked boldly in daylight. The goat shall choose the guilty. By dawn, the news had spread to every hut: the goat would judge the thief. Women hushed their children. Men whispered uncertain prayers. This test had not been used for over 20 years. The last time it did, a beloved healer had been exposed as a poisoner. The memory left a sour taste on every tongue. The chief, eager to calm the chaos, agreed to the test despite his wife's hesitation. "Let truth walk freely," he declared, pounding his staff on the earth. But those closest to him said he seemed nervous, glancing at Mafia far too often, as if searching her face for reassurance he never fully received. She simply adjusted her beads and stayed silent. The goat, an old, grey-spotted creature named Oki, was no ordinary animal. Villagers believed it was born on a night when lightning refused to strike, a sign of divine perception. It was said the goat could sense guilt not through sight or smell, but through the trembling spirit of the dishonest. Whether truth or superstition, no one could deny Oki had never chosen wrongly. Suspects were gathered: Kofi and Toa's rival, 2 young boys known for mischief, a trader who owed debts, and even one of the chief's guards. As they stood in a line before the village, the goat walked slowly toward them, sniffing and chewing, seemingly uninterested. Every heart tightened, every breath held captive. But when the goat stopped, it shocked everyone. It ignored all suspects entirely. Instead, it lifted its head, turned away from the line, and walked toward the chief's stool. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mafia Asabia's entire body stiffened. A hush, thick as night fog, swept over the village square. The goat walked slowly, deliberately, its hooves tapping the earth like drumbeats of truth. It paused only once, to glance at the chief's face, before continuing its unbroken path. Then, before the entire assembly, Oki sat down. Calmly, boldly, as if it had been waiting for this moment its entire life. Right beside the chief's wife. Gasps erupted. Hands flew to mouths. Even the chief staggered backward, eyes wide. Mafia Asabia's face drained of color, her fingers trembling violently. For a long moment, she stared at the goat as if seeing a ghost from her past, something she had buried deep yet feared would return. Wife of the stool, why would the goat choose you?" one elder whispered, voice shaking. Another stepped forward cautiously. "Is there something you must tell us?" Mafia could not speak. Sweat trickled down her temples, catching on the beads at her neck. She attempted to stand, but her knees wobbled. Every villager watched, breathless, as though suspended between disbelief and curiosity. The chief tried to defend her. "This is ridiculous. My wife has no reason to steal yams." His voice cracked mid-sentence. Everyone heard it. Everyone felt the unease beneath his words. The goat bleated loudly, once. A sound that cut through excuses. A sound of accusation. Mafia's eyes glistened with a truth she could no longer escape. She whispered, barely audible, I did not steal for myself. The murmurs turned to thunder. If not for herself, then for who? The elders demanded clarity. The villagers leaned in, hungry for truth. Mafia wiped her tears with trembling fingers, finally raising her head to face the crowd. Her voice broke as she spoke. I stole the yams, but not out of greed. Not out of wickedness. I did it to feed someone the village cannot know about. A wave of confusion rolled through Asonkye. The chief's face twisted in both fear and rage. What do you mean cannot know? Who are you feeding behind my back? Mafia hesitated, gripping the edge of her cloth. A child, she whispered. A child that is not yours. The village square exploded into chaos. Women shrieked. Men shouted over one another. The chief seemed paralyzed, staring at his wife as though she were a stranger carved from stone. Mafia continued despite the uproar. Before I married the chief, I had a secret relationship with a traveler who passed through the village. When I realized I was pregnant, he had already gone. I hid the pregnancy and gave birth in the forest hut behind Asonkye's borders. That child grew up outside the village, and when hunger struck him this season, I could not let him die. She looked down. I stole Kofi and Toa's yams to feed him. The silence that followed was colder than Harmattan winds. The elders exchanged grave looks. This was more than theft, it was betrayal, deception, and shame wrapped into one scandal. The goat nudged Mafia gently, as if confirming her confession. The chief, trembling with humiliation and fury, pointed at Mafia. You have shamed my stool. You have shamed this entire village. But beneath his anger lay something darker, fear. Because Mafia's eyes held a truth only the goat seemed to recognize. She lifted her chin. If shame exists, I do not carry it alone. Her voice grew steadier, surprising even herself. You knew the child existed. You knew he was alive. You simply hoped the secret would stay buried. And you refused to give him food when I begged you. Gasps rippled through the elders. The chief's staff slipped from his fingers, striking the earth with a hollow thud. His lie, the one he wrapped in royal cloth, had been exposed. Mafia continued, pointing toward him. The yams were stolen because you denied your own responsibility. You wanted the child out of sight, out of mind. But hunger does not listen to shame. The goat bleated again, circling the chief now. Everyone watched as Oki nudged the man's foot, sniffed him, and walked right back to Mafia, sitting beside her once more. The message was clear. She acted from desperation. But he acted from deceit. The elders whispered among themselves. The goat sees the heart, one said. It has judged not only the act, but the intention. And with that, the chief's authority began to tremble like a dying flame. The sun dipped low, painting the square in shades of gold and fire. The elders gathered the village for the final judgment. Tradition demanded both punishment and restoration, but the goat's message complicated everything. This was no simple theft. This was a woven fabric of lies, hunger, love, guilt, and pride. After long deliberations, the eldest elder rose. Mafia Asabia stole, he said. But she stole to save a life. A life she tried to protect because the chief abandoned truth for image. He turned to the chief. You, Nana Bazomfi, hid your part in this matter. And hidden guilt rots the heart faster than stolen yams rot in the sun. The villagers murmured in agreement. The judgment was delivered. Mafia must repay the yams she stole through community work. The chief must acknowledge the child and take responsibility for his well-being. And the goat, Oki, must be honored, fed, and protected for its service. As the village dispersed, the chief approached his wife with shame in his eyes. Forgive me, he whispered. I feared the truth more than the sin. She looked at him, weary but honest. Animals sense what humans pretend not to see. The goat only revealed what your heart already knew. Oki bleated softly, nudging them both as if sealing the truth with its presence. And so Asonkye learned a valuable lesson. Secrets may hide from humans, but not from the spirit world, and certainly not from the animals that walk between.